Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about Daggermouth, which is a dystopian romance that is blowing up all over the internet. I did just talk about it in my monthly wrap up, but I'm going to do a bit more of an in-depth talk about it here. I also did a recent video trying to find dystopian comps for my book, which is also a dystopian romance in this kind of new adult market. I didn't realise this was self-published at the time. I thought this was like an indie published copy, but makes kind of sense because it's a bit of a weird printing. Turns out this is what the printing is like when you self-publish on Amazon. But this book has been picked up and its sequel in a seven-figure deal by a traditional publisher, so it actually still will make a good comp title for me. The traditional copy of this is coming out in June, and the follow-up Python is coming out next March. So we've got a little while to wait for the sequel. And I don't know if this version is still available. Might have been sold out by now. But you don't have too long to wait till the traditional version. I was really worried that this book sounded very similar to mine because mine is also a totalitarian society in this kind of gated community with like different sections of the society for like different classes almost, which this has as well. And my book has an arranged marriage with a romance between those people, and so does this. But I'm relieved to announce that mine does a very different vibe, and mine doesn't enemies to lovers, and it's not like a dark romance, and this kind of is that. So lots of similar tropes, but very different in execution, which is great. I can relax, phew. And this will still make quite a good comp title for me. So we're cooking. I was right. Until maybe I find other books that might be more suitable, I think I will be using this as a comp. This book is about basically a totalitarian society that's in this kind of city state that's divided into rings. There's a boundary, which is around the edge, and it's like the poorest of society. There's a middle kind of cardinal ring. Don't know much about them because we don't really spend any time there. And then there's the elite, and they're like very rich and powerful. They kind of live a lavish lifestyle. They go partying, they eat a lot of food, etc. And everyone has to wear a mask, and you're not allowed to see each other's face unless you are getting married to them. It's quite a sexist society. Like, once you get married, the woman basically gives up her right to speak and things like that. But before she gets married, she's kind of like a normal person in society, so I'm not sure like what the rationale there was. And then we have like our powerful family at the center and the dictator. Our male main character is Grayson, who's his son, and he works as executioner, but he's secretly rebellious and like against his father, who's very abusive, and against like the society in general. We have our female main character, who's an assassin from the Boundary. She's a Daggermouth. She tries to assassinate Grayson, which goes a bit wrong, and she ends up being put in a political arranged marriage with him, kind of for the media's sake and propaganda's sake, in order to kind of subdue the Boundary. Her and Grayson have a dark romance that's very true enemies to lovers. They go from literally wanting to kill each other to like finding some middle ground, and it's quite a nice progression. It progresses really naturally over the course of the story. Doesn't necessarily go all the way. I think the romance will go further in the next book. And there's certainly a lot of like conflict, inner conflict, and conflict between them. Lots of interesting conversations between them, which is good. It was a lot of drama and a lot of conflict, which I liked. There are other romantic elements, like she's got a partner back in the Boundary who like loves her. Her feelings maybe aren't strong for him, but there's a mild love triangle element there, and there's also another romance between Grayson's sister and his friend, which I won't get into, but that's not enemies to lovers, and it's like another romantic subplot, which is really good. It's nice to have multiple romances and to root for multiple people. And I really enjoyed all of the interpersonal drama of the story. There's a lot of interpersonal drama between Grayson and his family. His dad's like the big leader of the society, and he's just a horrible person, a psychopath, he's abusive. His family don't really support him. This did kind of raise questions of like, why doesn't his family just like kill him now? It would be so much easier. We don't see a lot of like genuine support for him. He's like pretty much a tyrant, so he rules through fear and punishment, public executions to keep people down. But I feel like most tyrants and dictators, they do have an inner circle that is very supportive of them, and they do have people in the society who are supportive of them. Like, people supported Hitler at a certain point. If you look at North Korea, People don't speak out against the leader for fear of like retribution, and the Kims kind of support each other. They are quite a family unit, it seems, from what we can see. That obviously that could be propaganda because it's quite a propaganda state, and they're very controlling of the narrative and how people see them. But there seems to be some genuine love and support among the elites there, which I don't get in this story, which makes me question how this power is really maintained, because I think you can only maintain power through fear and loathing so much. I think you also need some support from like other key powerful players. I think the political intrigue of this story could have been more interesting if we had that. I also think the dystopian elements were a little bit weak in general. Like, I had a lot of questions about the world building, like, how do the elites really live? We don't see lots of that because we're mostly like in Grayson's flat and we only go out into the world very briefly. We know everyone wears masks and lives quite well in the elite circle in the heart, but there's not much of that actually illustrated. It's not like in the Hunger Games where you get a really good sense of how the Capitol live and why the Capitol support the Hunger Games and like the benefits they have from being elite. Because it seems like this is a very sexist society where women are really downtrodden, so I don't know what they get out of being elite. I feel like the masks could have signified like suppressing individuality. However, the masks were all quite unique and everyone had their own individual mask that kind of represented their character, especially like the elite family, maybe less so for servants and like lesser elite. But what's the point in like suppressing individuality if you're going to have an individual mask? I also think you could have used the masks to signify some anonymity because that's kind of the purpose of a mask. And that could have been really interesting because how people act when they think they're anonymous can be a little bit more evil and can be really interesting from a psychological, sociological point of view. There was even like a Darren Brown fake game show about this where everyone wore anonymous masks and had to vote on certain actions, which got more and more cruel towards a person. That was a really interesting show. I don't know where to watch that now. I think it was on like 4OD. I might watch it. It was really good. But I think something like that could have been done here with the masks, but it just wasn't. It was more used as like, you don't show your face, and that's a social faux pas. And if you do, then you have to get married, and only like husbands and wives are allowed to see each other's face. I even think like if you want a really sexist society, you could have had only the women wearing masks. It's kind of getting into like The Handmaid's Tale or like burqas and things like that, where women are forced to dress in a particular way or like hide certain aspects because of like purity culture or something like that. But I think that could have been really interesting, but that wasn't the case. It was quite egalitarian in terms of like the mask wearing rule, which is interesting, but I don't think it's saying a whole lot. I also had a lot of questions about the broader world of this country, which could be America, and it seems quite America coded, but like it could have been Britain, it could have been anywhere, to be honest. It felt like it was just in a vacuum. Rebels tend to sing the old national anthem, and that's referenced quite a lot, but we don't get any lyrics for that. She could have like written a fake anthem or could have used like the American anthem, but she didn't, so it didn't really tell us much about this world or this country, whether it's our world, whether it's a different world. Like, who knows? And who knows what these lyrics signify? I imagine if it's like the American anthem, that it's signifying freedom and stuff like that, which would be rebellious, but without that context, it doesn't have as much impact. And this city state, it feels kind of walkable, but it's also described as the biggest city state of three or four in the country, which would imply that it's massive, which begs the question, where is everyone else? Is everyone else like dead from some sort of disaster or from war? Who knows? I also have questions about like what the purpose of the boundary and the cardinal are, what kind of work do they do, and what does life look like there? It's sort of implied to be like generally bad, but we only really see the rebel leaders and the assassin kind of guild or the Daggermouths, and the way they live is probably quite different to how everyone else lives. There's a few clues like Shadira doesn't know how to cook, everything kind of comes pre-made and pre-packaged, which was a good world building element, but it was only a little. It wasn't that extensive. There's talk of like a lot of toxic waste in the boundary, but we don't see what the impacts of that. Like, are people getting cancer and radiation poisoning from this? What's the toxic waste from? Is the broader world like very polluted or like in a nuclear fallout? I don't know. Like, that's all a mystery. And I don't even know how the boundary is enforced. Like, is it a big wall? Is there a fence? How do people not escape the society that's so evil? And why are they not thinking about escape? Is there like soldiers guarding it? Are they going to get sniped? Is there an electric fence? I have a lot of questions. And there's like all of these tunnels, but like, could they tunnel out? Questions. I don't know. So for book two, I'd like to see a bit more world building. I'd like to have some more understanding. And I think there could have been more thoughtful dystopian elements rather than this kind of dystopian as a set dressing, as an entertaining scenario for our characters, which is kind of what this was. Because I kind of want all our dystopian to have a good message and to be able to be kind of critically engaged with and thought about. Um, and books like The Hunger Games, which are for a young adult audience, do that very well. They have a really good romance, a really good, exciting plot, and really good political commentary and dystopian elements. So I would have liked more of that for this book. But I do think for people that love romantasy and dark romance and that are just really, really interested in romance, they will love this and they will really enjoy all of that relational drama and maybe just a sprinkling of dystopian tropes and dystopian topics without diving deep. Obviously, people are really engaging with that and really enjoying it. Maybe it will get people into dystopian more, and maybe they'll go on to read more literary fiction or classics in the dystopian genre. But I also think like Hunger Games is a great gateway into dystopia that's accessible and still manages to engage with dystopian topics very well and very thoughtfully. So I did expect a bit more. I do want a bit more from even dystopian romance as a genre. I don't think having romantic subplots or having romantic kind of co-plots, because it's just as important as a dystopia, is an excuse to like not develop the dystopian setting kind of aspects. I want them to go hand in hand. I don't want it to be like romance up here and dystopian as a set. So if I had to critique this book, that would be my main critique. But I still had a good time and I enjoyed it. And obviously, lots of other people are too. And I'm relieved that it's not like my book, that the vibe is very different. And that people that like this book are going to go on a bit of a like romantic dystopian bender and then want to read other books in the genre, and then that might make them want to pick up mine. So that's really good, and I don't want to be too harsh on it for that reason. And I also think the dark romance and even like the smuttier elements, which I don't think were over the top at all in this book, I thought they were all done like tastefully and well. I thought they made sense with the plot and with the world. It didn't feel distasteful in the way that Silver Elite felt distasteful to me. I thought it was actually all tastefully handled and well done, so I don't really have any criticism from that front. And I think that's the best part of this book, and I think that's why people love it so much. And to answer the question of whether I'm going to use this as a comp, I think I will, but I do think the vibe is quite different. But like writing style wise and like for that new adult market, I do think it's quite similar to my book. Like I talk a lot about politics and dystopia and not wanting to water it down too much, but there's wanting to do that and then like executing that really well. And I think where my skill lies, it's not where Suzanne Collins' skill is. Let's put it that way. I think like that's my intention, is to be political and really try to write a good dystopia. And I'm going to do my best to make it thoughtful and nuanced. But like my skill might make me fall short of that ambition, which is a shame. Maybe I'll just keep working on it until my skill is good enough to do it justice. But I don't know, it's very possible that I could publish it and people will come on and make reviews like this and say, well, the world building was flimsy and the dystopian elements were flimsy, and then I'll be like, I tried. So maybe H.M. Wolf tried, is all I'm saying. So I don't want to be too harsh because there was an attempt, and I don't think it was as flimsy as like Silver Elite. Speaking of Silver Elite and like there was rumors that Silverleaf was like AI. This book has had similar rumors of it being AI, which I completely disagree with. It's self-published, and let me tell you that this version has quite a few, not spelling mistakes, but like mistakes where the wrong word is being used, like his instead of her, and things like that, which is a very human mistake that AI would never make. And I make those mistakes all the time. They're quite easy to miss because your spell checker doesn't flag it as like a spelling or a grammar mistake. And it reads kind of intuitively for your brain sometimes. Like it's just quite an honest mistake for your brain to make if you're like thinking really fast. So there was quite a few of those in here, 5 or 6. They were all kind of clumped together within the same 100 or so pages that I noticed. Don't know, whoever did it that day, whoever did the proofreading on that day was maybe tired. But I think those are very human mistakes. And isn't it funny that it's like a female author and like a black female author that's getting these kind of accusations? Do men ever get these accusations? Don't know if there's something like a bit sexist about these accusations or a bit slanderous, but I don't buy it at all. I don't think this is AI. But like it is tropey, it is similar to other dystopian books in a more watered down kind of way. So I could see why people might think like that it's a little generic, like the dystopian elements are a little generic, and maybe that is why they think it's AI, but I don't think so. I think, look, dystopian is just hard because you have to have a really good knowledge and study of politics and psychology and sociology and real dictatorships in the world and things like that, and history. It is just genuinely really hard. So I think that's probably more likely the case here, not that it's AI. And there was also backlash online at the author because she was posting about some topic. I don't know if it was like Israel Palestine or something like that, or I don't know, I can't remember, but she used a quote from her book, from this book, to kind of speak out against what was going on and trying to engage in politics a bit. But people were giving her backlash because it seemed like she was promoting her book. But look, if you write dystopian, even kind of a light dystopian like this, it is political. It's like genuinely inherently political, so it makes sense to engage in politics a bit and speak out against injustice. Like that's why people write dystopias. So I think she was probably just being genuine, not trying to be self-promotional the way like Sarah J. Maas was with Silver Flames with the Breonna Taylor thing. That was a bit icky. Like I think we can all agree that was icky and felt a bit self-promotional, even though she was probably just being like, this sucks, here's something nice and distracting to take your mind off it. I don't know if we should take our mind off things like that. Like it's fine to engage in politics and also have fun and read a nice book. I don't know. That came across as icky, but this instance with H.M. Wolf, I don't think that comes across as icky at all. And people will come for like dystopian authors to be like, "Oh, well, you write dystopia, you're supposed to be political, so you should be speaking out on these topics." So I just think you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you stay silent, you're just being political for sales and for show. If you speak out, it's try to promote your book or you've spoken out wrongly, and then you're getting cancelled for it because, or like maybe your opinion was the wrong one. And yeah, I think it's a really hard space to navigate. So I think we should calm down and be a little bit more gentle and just understand that, especially as a self-published author, which she was at that time, um, you have to be an influencer, you have to promote on social media, you've got to do what you got to do. Even as a traditional published author, you need to do a lot of your own self-promotion, which is kind of what I'm doing here and on this channel and on my Instagram. It's really hard and it's not always what people want to do. It's not always what authors want to do. Like they just want to write their books and they want to find their readers and get people to read. And having an author platform is really hard. So I think we can like exercise some grace here and not read negative intentions into something that was probably very positively intentioned. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Do I recommend this book? Yes, because I'm going to champion the dystopian romance genre for obvious reasons. And if you like dark romance, you like romantasy, you will love this. It's going to scratch an itch. It's going to be really entertaining. There's so many like interpersonal drama, twists and turns. Uh, there's so much like at the end, which makes you excited to read the next book and find out what happens next. And it's an entertaining read. But if you really like I Who Have Never Known Men or 1984 or like The Handmaid's Tale, more literary dystopias that really engage with the politics, this is probably going to be too light for you. And you're probably going to get frustrated with the world building and the logic of this totalitarian society in here because it's not quite on that level. And it's like dystopia in more of a tropey way. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Daggermouth. Did you enjoy it? Did you feel the same about the world building? Or are there things that I'm missing? Did you take any like political messages away beyond sexism is bad, being a tyrant is bad, being abusive is bad? Let me know in the comments. Let's discuss it. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram if you want to see more, and especially if you like dystopian romance, because guess what? I'm nearly finished writing my dystopian romance book. So stay tuned for updates on that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!